Hi everyone, today I'm going to be reviewing the Forest Axe by Husqvarna, a very lightweight and versatile axe for a number of different tasks, so let's get right into that. Okay, so this is the Husqvarna Forest Axe. I bought this about 2 weeks ago from an independent retailer, and it cost me about £65, which I'll put down there what that is in other currencies. Now, this isn't your traditional great big felling axe. It's got quite a small head on there, and the handle is only about 60 centimeters, so 600 millimeters, I believe. I was actually looking for a proper decent, long-handled, wide bits felling axe. But this was the best thing I could find, and it's actually proved to be quite a handy axe. Where I'm such a tall guy, I do need preferably like a 900 millimeter handle, which is, you know, a pretty nice sized axe. So for me, this would be no good for proper felling. If anything, I could almost even use it as a hatchet, because it is quite a small axe and it's so lightweight that you could definitely carefully wield it with one hand. A compliment to how lightweight and ergonomic it is. The handle, I believe, is ash. I can't remember. It did say on the label, which I've since taken off, obviously. My main complaint about many axes that you buy from hardware stores and outdoor stores is they often come covered in a lacquer, and I'm not a fan of it. It feels very waxy and almost like plastic. It's not a very nice feeling at all. This handle, however, has not been lacquered. It does seem to have been treated by perhaps linseed oil or something along those lines, where you can still feel the grain, and so you actually get a bit more grip because you're feeling the texture of the wood. And so it makes it great for me, because previous axes that I've fought, I've had to actually sand down the handle to get off all that wax and then retreat it myself with beeswax or linseed oil, which just gives it a more natural feel. With those lacquered handles, I'm not a fan. They might be grippy, but it just doesn't feel like you're holding it securely enough. I can't quite describe it, but I'm sure many of you guys with experience with axes, more experience than I have, will definitely know what I'm talking about. You'd rather treat it yourself than just use it as it comes off the shelf. Now, the main selling point for me with this axe, and the reason I bought it over buying a proper felling axe, aside from the fact that I didn't really have one I liked, was the fact that the head is hand forged in Sweden, and so it has this really, I guess, organic feel would be the best way to describe it. It just feels like a really nice axe. Unlike many others that I've used before, the head is a quality of metal that I rarely encounter with many modern axes that you can just pick up at hardware stores. And as I said, the wood, they've definitely selected a lovely piece. The grain pattern is just beautiful. So as I said, this is the Forest Axe, so it's not particularly designed for any specific task. Instead, it is more of a general use axe, although probably not for the average gardener perhaps. It is definitely more for hard-wearing activities, but doesn't excel in any region. The reason is, of course, that the head is very, very small. This wouldn't be any good for chopping down a tree of any sizable diameter. Nor is it any good for splitting. I'm sure you could probably split a few small logs for it, for a campfire or kindling or something. But if you are, you know, in a serious logging business or anything like that, this will be no good for splitting up woods for firewood or anything like that. It's definitely an axe that you want to keep handy, because it's so small for one that you can definitely bring it in a rucksack, or it's not going to be a pain to carry. For example, if you work in a large area of forest, for example, this is definitely a nicer option if you're not looking to cut down any major big trees or anything like that. Another really nice feature about this that drew my eye to it was that it comes with this beautiful custom handmade leather sheath, which has this little puff-on button there, so that when you're not using it, it just protects the blade a bit more, stops it from going dull so quickly, and perhaps stops it from rusting. I'm sure it being such a high quality handmade axe head that it won't rust particularly quickly anyway, but you can definitely do with a bit of extra protection if you're using it quite frequently in outdoors environment. And of course, how they've hung it is really nice. They've got the wedge in there, and they've used a circular pin instead of the regular straight 2 pins. I'm not sure if that's any more effective. I've always used the straight pins. They've just got one circular pin in there, so perhaps it's for a certain reason, or maybe it's just a different style of doing it. Okay, so without further ado, let's go and test this out on something. As I said before, I'm not going to use this on anything too serious, and there are no trees that currently need chopping down, so I'm probably just going to swing at a couple of dead logs with it and just see how good it is at in terms of speed and usability, because it is a shorter handle. You know, what kind of range can you get on it, and how deep does the blade penetrate the wood, because it comes so sharp. Of course, that's something that you will need to maintain, but straight out of the box, it comes so sharp that I'm sure it will be excellent at that. So let's go test that out. Okay, so here I found probably more suitable logs. I'm just going to test it out, a few swings on here, see how deeply the axe penetrates, and then we'll sum up the video from there. See, that was very nice. That took that branch straight off. Don't need to put too much power into it because it's such a lightweight axe. It doesn't need too much swinging, and as I keep saying, the blade is so sharp that you really don't need to worry too much about it at all. I'm still not quite satisfied. These logs are all quite rotten, and of course, that being a conifer, it is quite soft anyway. So I'm going to go on a hunt for a much harder tree because I really want to see how this axe performs. Okay, so we're going to test the axe out on this felled lime limb here. So you can see it was cut down from that stump just there, and it's just laying on the floor here. Lime is of course a hardwood, but it's a relatively soft hardwood. It's quite popular for woodworking because of how workable it is. But nevertheless, it should still give us a fairly decent idea of how the Husqvarna forest axe performs. Okay, so we're working on this area here, a little bit of exposed wood there, so this tree is still a little bit rotten, but let's just see how well this axe holds up on a bit of hardwood. Okay, so there we have it. That is the Husqvarna Forest Axe. A great all-round versatile tool. If you are on the taller side, like myself, then you would probably prefer, for the bigger jobs, a longer handled axe with a bigger head as well. But for the everyday general task, this is an excellent axe to use. You can see there, it bucked up that bog pretty good, and it was great at knocking the twigs off as well. So if your hatchet's not doing enough and you don't want to be using your big felling axe all the time, then something like this, a really nice middle option. As I said, this retails at about £65. I'm not sure if it's any different price on Husqvarna's official website or in their official stores or anything like that, but I think for the price that you pay, it is absolutely an excellent axe. Despite not being particularly great in any one area, it excels at being an all-round tool for many different jobs that you've got to do, and it is razor sharp as well. If you want a really nice looking axe that's probably going to stick with you for some time and be a great tool, then the Husqvarna Forest Axe is definitely a great option. Thank you everyone for watching, and subscribe to the Wellstead to see more outdoors related content and nature videos, and to follow along our journey of restoring and rewilding this ancient woodland. See you in the next video.